We certainly stepped it up compared to the previous years. I don't think I've ever received an introduction like this. Thanks. I know exactly who wrote that. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the Laverton Cycling Project and the Perth to Laverton Cycling Classic that was this year very kindly supported by Regis Resources. But before I get to show you about the Perth to Laverton Cycling Classic, it's all about the kids in Laverton. So I tell you all the good news first before we move on. What we did this year was quite remarkable. As usual, we took the kids out for bike rides. We got a lot of great feedback and responses. The kids keep telling us how much fun they have, how they can get out to bush to their sites where they normally can't get to. They decide where they want to go and they start talking about friendships and opportunities. And the great thing is it doesn't matter how old the kids are that we're riding with in one group, and it doesn't matter how big they are or smaller or taller, they all wait for each other. There is no such thing as bullying and everyone takes care of each other. And that's something that we don't really see so much in the city, whereas out there in the bush we see that a lot. So what we did this year is we didn't just give them bikes and we fixed up bikes with the kids or even back in Perth. We gave them fruits all the time, which was very well received, thanks to Country Park as well. But what we did is we tried to engage the community a lot more. So Laverton, like many other places in Australia, went through a pretty tough time this year. A lot of you may have seen Laverton on the news. The ABC have reported about Laverton, which has more to do, it was just reflective of what's happening in the country in general. So as you can imagine that every community, every remote community is going through the ups and downs, the usual cycles where there are lots of funerals around, and there's a lot more funerals this year than in previous years. So the kids find it really hard to find structure and they move around a lot. They move around between Laverton, Kalgoorlie, Leonora and even further. What we have now is that we have even kids moving out further into the bush. On top of it, the kids actually are heading into uncharted territory because they actually lost their youth workers in town. This is a big deal. The youth workers kept the activities alive, not just with us cyclists, but also with basketball, swimming, whatnot. The school is helping out as much as they can, but they actually came to us and they said, can you help us out and even go further into the bush? Can you go to places like Mulga Queen that you probably have never heard of? Mulga Queen is a teeny tiny community, about 50 k's into the bush, can't really access it without four-wheel drive, and they have nothing there. And unfortunately, the bigger organizations can't even go there, mainly because they don't have the capacity in terms of flexibility with their schedules. So we're the only ones that actually said, yeah, we can help out, we can actually go and do something. So we're in the middle of drafting up a plan to help them out because the kids are amazing. So some of these kids have incredible role model skills. They really do. I mean, I'm not just saying it. The thing is that as soon as they get a bit older, they might spiral down a pathway that is less fortunate. So when we spoke to police, who we're closely collaborating with, they said that the more activities we're running in town, you can immediately see it in the youth crime stats that they're actually going down, which is amazing. And there was a very short moment in history when we had a close to 0% crime rate, youth crime rate in town, about a couple of years ago, and then following on a bit longer. And that stopped as soon as youth activities were declining. So what we're going to do now is that now that we have been selected as one of 3 organizations in Laverton that we are so embedded now, we are part of the community, we are fully integrated, that trust us to run activities there. Which means now that the 3 of us, the 3 organizations, we're trying to collaborate a lot more, try to organize activities and keep them running just to have something to do for the youths. The amazing thing is that everyone wants to collaborate. Everyone wants the best for not just the Laverton community, but we're starting to branch out to Leonora as well, trying to get them to come over, help us out. And everyone just wants to help out, but we still need the drivers on the ground. It's one thing to finance them, but it's also one thing to have the drivers. And that's something that we're now working on quite heavily, which is fantastic. We will be collaborating with the Cross Cultural Association to have even suicide workshops, which is it's a big topic in the country which can't be neglected. So you may have heard about the young kid that has just passed away. He was only 16, he committed suicide. It's a big topic that in Aboriginal communities, and that's something we can address, and we can address it with cycling as well. So there's barely another sport that you can use as a tool to actually mitigate these issues. So the CDF is an incredibly fortunate position that we are fully integrated into a community that needs help, and we also have the absolute drive to actually help. And that's something that we wouldn't be able to do without the sponsors. So there's a genuine thank you to all of you that have helped us out in the past and are still doing so. There's Horizon Power, who has just agreed for another little project funding. Thank you, came through today. There's various who have helped us out heaps in the past. There's HealthRand, there's so many others, obviously Regis Resources as well, and all the mining companies like Linus. But it is the Perth to Laverton Cycling Classic, which is our main fundraiser of the year, that gets us to where we want to go, which means raising funds and awareness for that project that we're running. So this year was pretty spectacular actually, in a way that everything went smoothly. Everyone got to the end still smiling and chirpy after 1,100 kilometers of riding, and the whole group was pretty cohesive. I just want to add that I didn't ride. I drove the car for 1,000 kilometers, and I had a fantastic time too. And I don't have any sores. But we saw the beautiful landscape out in the outback. We started off with some morning tea by the Cultural Women's Association. We had a beautiful time at the Charlestown Reserve. We have plenty of those stations out there in the outback that just no one knows of or no one uses. And they're all raised their own little bit of awareness of the country. And there's a lot to see in the bush, by the way. So this connection to country, this connection to bush, is something that we try to encourage our kids in Laverton to do as well. So it is something that actually gives them some stability, because there's nothing better than understanding where you come from and be proud of where you come from. And the more they understand about their own country, the more, the calmer they get, and also the more they understand that it's important to show resilience and fight for what they have right now and see opportunities and not see it as a disadvantage to be who they are. And that's one of the big goals that we have, is to show them that we actually entering their territory in their country, and we value it a lot. And they're the ones that are showing us around now. So as soon as we got to Laverton, we were shown by the elders of what they do day in, day out, meaning they're making crafty things from hay, or they took us to the bush to eat kangaroo tail and tell us tales of the sky, etc. So the nice thing about the Laverton Shire is that they were waiting for us to arrive, and they were building or forming a whole Labour Fest around our arrival, which means we had a little smoking ceremony, we had an award giving ceremony for Vicky and Tom, because they were the spirit of the ride. And we had a bike festival, so they were actually making room for us to have our own bike day out in Laverton, which is pretty cool. So they were literally just waiting for the bikes to arrive, and then for the kids to ride their bikes as well. So all of this, as usual, not possible at all without all the sponsors. So thanks all. I'm sure I've left them all out, but Brad as well. You listed them all, but yeah, no, it's much appreciated, and we're really trying to have something big happening next year by expanding to Mulga Queen and to Cosmo Newberry, to other campuses out there in the bush who have pretty much nothing. Thanks, that's all I've got for now.